Topic 3 is dividing monomials. So remember, a monomial is a polynomial with exactly one term. So we're going to be looking at division of just two polynomials, each with one term. Pretty basic, nothing crazy is going to show up. So the first thing we would do is divide our coefficients, and then you apply the quotient rule to divide each variable factor. And do make note here, you want no more than one factor of each type of variable. So if you have multiple variables, that's fine, but your final answer, you want at most one of each variable in your answer. Okay, so let's look at example 4. So example 4 says find each quotient. I did not mean to go that far up. Okay, so it says divide each quotient or find each quotient. So for part A, I have negative 15x to the 8th power divided by 5x to the 3rd power. Well, I want to go ahead and divide my coefficients. So I have negative 15 divided by 5, which is negative 3. Okay, then we need to apply the quotient rule quite literally. So I have x to the 8th divided by x to the 3rd. So I want to get x to the 8 minus 3. So I've already got my negative 3, and then my x factor is going to simplify to just be x to the 5th. And there you have it. Pretty straightforward, nothing too crazy there. And just remember, those 3x's in the denominator cancel 3 of the 8x's in the numerator, leaving 5x's in the numerator. Okay, part B, we have 7x squared over 21x squared. Well, be careful with your 7 and 21. I see students do this all the time. They divide and they do 21 divided by 7, which is really backwards. It's upside down. So in this case, we need to simplify our fraction. 7 and 21 both have a 7 as a common factor. So divide each of these by 7. 7 divided by 7 is 1. 21 divided by 7 is 3. So far this simplifies to 1/3. Now, x squared divided by x squared. We use the quotient rule, and that gives me x to the 2 minus 2 power, which is really 1/3 x to the 0, which is really just 1/3 times, remember, x to the 0 is just 1. So ultimately, at the end of the day, this simplifies to just 1/3. Sometimes people will see this, and instead of doing the quotient rule, which then leads you to the 0 exponent rule, which leads you to the fact that this equals 1, they just acknowledge, hey, x squared divided by itself just equals 1, so I know I just get 1/3 times 1, and that is fine, okay? Now, part C, we have 18x to the 9th, y to the 3rd, divided by 27x to the 7th, y to the 2nd power. So I first want to simplify the coefficients, okay? They're not going to divide evenly, so I just want to simplify them. So 18 and 27 are both divisible by 9. 18 divided by 9 is 2. 27 divided by 9 is 3. So far we have 2/3, okay? Now, looking at my variables, I have x factors and I have y factors. I want at most one x and at most one y factor in this answer. So looking at the x's, I have 9 x's in the numerator, 7 x's in the denominator. So if I use the quotient rule, I get x to the 9 minus 7. And then for the y's, I have 3 in the numerator, 2 in the denominator. Using the quotient rule, I get to keep the base, so I keep that y, and I subtract the exponents. So this becomes 2/3 x squared y. Okay, now you could also just sort of acknowledge 7 of the x, or the 7x's in the denominator, cancel 7 of the 9 in the numerator, leaving me with 2. And then the 2 y's in the denominator cancel 2 of the 3 in the numerator, leaving me just 1. But if you do that, just know that behind the scenes, you're doing the quotient rule. You could also see this written out as 2x squared y over 3. They're exactly the same thing. It just kind of depends on preference with how you would write out your final answer. All right. So make sure you get some practice with dividing monomials.